And we are live. Good day, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gym in the Crypto episode 543. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, and I'm King, here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto every day, Monday through Friday. And today's top stories: Poloniex rolls back trading history after software bug causes a bunch of problems. Bittrex exchange is in trouble, in-depth analysis reveals. JP Morgan considers merging blockchain unit with Consensus. Childhood friends battle over ownership of North America's largest Bitcoin mine. And central bank digital currencies are good for Bitcoin, Barry Silbert says. But first, of course, let's go ahead and check out those prices on the day. You know, everybody's in a great mood as we're looking at a green market. Bitcoin's at 10,236, up 4.02%. Ethereum's at $237, up 6.87%. Ripple at 28 cents, up 3%. Bitcoin Cash at $463, up 2.46%. EOS is at $5.28, up 7.8%. And Litecoin is at $76, up 4%. We talked about this already. To some people, this is the signal of the start of a strong bull market. You know, one thing I said about a week or so ago was like, if we can get to that 10,000 and that 10,000 price, 10,200 price or whatever, I think we will start seeing Bitcoin pump a bit more aggressively. Now, of course, the next key indicator is getting to that 11.5 to 12.2 range. But again, you have to remember, when we start having these same percentage swings now, 4% here, 5% here, 10% here, 12% depending on what you're looking at, in fiat currency or in the dollar value, that's going to swing a lot more aggressively than what you would see once it's below $10,000. Again, from the percentage side of things, because again, 10% of $10,000 is $1,000, of course. So anything, again, you're looking at 4% swing. That's a $400 swing when you're looking at these numbers at a minimum right now, since it's at 10,200. So continue to see those numbers start aggressively, you know, that volatility going both ways, start aggressively swinging both ways if the price of Bitcoin continues to go up. Again, the halving happens in May, and this is all signs of a very healthy market. What's going on, Richard Terween? G-Day to you. Good day. Madam Crypto, Will 45, Andre Durden. Hey, welcome back. I say, TGoC, LOL, first in. That's right. All right. Top story of the day: Poloniex rolls back trading history after software bug causes a bunch of problems. I'm not gonna lie, I thought after Circle resold Poloniex and tried to get rid of that bad, that they would actually shut down Poloniex. They are still on life support, trying to survive now. As a precursor, my experience when Poloniex was up and running at its peak volume and all that back in 2016, 2017 was great. I love Poloniex. One of the things we always talk about was that, you know, their downfall began when the price of Bitcoin started pumping. You know, they got rid of their troll box, which is the same type of chat box we have here on our show and our different YouTubers have there. But they got rid of that because the moderators that were in those chat boxes, it's kind of weird how it works. It's the same way it worked on our show. Some of our moderators were viewers first, and then, you know, we got in touch, we kept in touch about crypto. Then they turned to moderators. Same thing, Poloniex. They had their exchange up, they had the chat box. People started talking in there, talking about trades, talking about general crypto, and then some of those people were elevated to moderator positions. Now you have to remember, their troll box was a 24/7 troll box. I mean, Sunday through Sunday, sun up to sundown, nonstop. People were in that troll box, and again, once Bitcoin started to pump and they needed to scale operations, they sent all those people over to support. And once that chat box kind of shut down, that was really the end of Poloniex. That was like the first telltale sign that this thing wasn't going to keep working. Of course, Poloniex sold that big to Circle, owned by Goldman Sachs, and from there they sold it. And now Poloniex, as I said, is on life support as they continue to operate. It looks like crypto exchange Poloniex confirmed in a series of tweets today that it rescinded 12 minutes of trading history in response to a software problem that saw a bunch of trades execute erroneously. The Twitter announcement did not elaborate on the specific nature of these errors, but the exchange perceived technical problems are not the interesting bit here. It's how Poloniex handled the situation, wiping every trade made between 1753 UTC and 1805 UTC today after its automated audits detected the problem. The company also canceled any pending withdrawals, and every affected customer was informed of this via email. Of course, there wasn't a Poloniex spokesperson available for comment, as they say. And they're also saying they don't know how many users were affected. But again, this is why we thought Poloniex decided to die after Circle resold that big. Like, they need to shut down. All right, they need to shut down. I'm not saying go away forever, but they need to shut down and do a rebrand. Whether that rebrand comes back out and their name is the same, or they rebrand and come out under a different name. They need to shut down or at least stop operations, fix everything on the back end, on the technical side, and then rebrand, because this is not okay for an exchange to do. And this is the issue we talk about with exchanges. We're talking about all this regulation and stuff. I'm like, no, if anything, we just need to self-regulate, or we are going to have regulations, which again, I am thoroughly against. You need to regulate some of these big players like this. Exchanges get away with murder in this space right now. And again, it's okay. I'm not saying go scream to the lawyers about it, go scream to the regulators. No, self-regulation is what we've already done with Poloniex, and that's just to stop using them. And you'll see they'll die on their own. The next exchange we'll talk about, Bittrex, is going through that now. I mean, every time I hear a bad news story about Bittrex, my teeth get wider, okay? Because they do the exact same things. They change their terms of service overnight, and we'll talk about that. But when you're looking at Poloniex, it is not okay for whatever reason you're having, your problem, your back-end technical issues, your coding, software, whatever issues you had, that doesn't mean your customers have to pay for it. And that's what happens here. It's happening here. This isn't the first time it's happened at Poloniex. It is the first time it's happened at exchanges. But imagine you just made a big trade, or you're expecting something to happen, or you have these buy or sell orders in, or you're done with the market and you're saying, I want my money back now. And they're saying no to all of the above. Your accounts are frozen. To me, this is a perfect example of why in 2020 you should not be using exchanges. Unless you're margin trading or you're doing a lot of daily trading. I mean, anywhere from minimum 10 trades a day. If let's say a minimum of 10 trades a day, you shouldn't be on exchange. We've talked about before, you can literally use the likes of Exodus wallet on your desktop. You have Jack's wallet on your phone. You have blockchain, which technically is still an exchange on your phone. But you have these different wallet apps where you can do cross-atomic swaps now, and you can just basically switch your crypto or buy different cryptos inside your own wallet. So there's no reason for you to be stuck on exchange and them to tell you, hey, sorry, in this case, we're canceling any pending withdrawals. I've been through that. I went through withdrawals being canceled or diluted or limited back in January of 2018 when the price was drastically dropping. So, literally every day of waiting was a difference between thousands of dollars being able to take out of my account. So, I look at this same thing here at Poloniex. This isn't okay. It's another reason why Poloniex needs to go, at least rebrand or just fully die. Again, I was a huge fan of them, so this isn't like a knock on Poloniex. To me, it really wasn't their fault. They were a great exchange that got caught up in the hype of Bitcoin. They weren't able to readily scale, which almost every exchange had issues with. So I'm not blaming them for their issues, but they had their moment. We know in cryptocurrency and in this industry, sometimes your moment is that 15 minutes of fame. They had it, and it's over. When you get to the point where you're rescinding trade history because of error on your part, that's not a good look. And I definitely wouldn't trust trading on this exchange moving forward. It is what it is. You're talking about 12 minutes of trading history. Again, it's the same. We saw this on a couple of other exchanges before too, when you have your flash crashes. I remember Ethereum or something flash crashed like $5 at one point. I know Bitcoin at one time flash crashed. But you have these flash crashes where literally in a matter of 10 or 15 seconds, because of software or trading bots or whatever, for example, the price of Bitcoin can go from 10,000 to 200, flash crash down to 6,000, and then right back up to 10,000, all in a matter of minutes. But for those people who have those sell and buy orders in, they have those orders in, and the exchange owes them those orders. So again, if you're seeing that here, and it's caused them to stop or to rescind 12 minutes of trading activity, that's affecting a lot of people. Again, I don't think that's okay. And this is it for Poloniex. This is a bad news story when you talk about exchanges. Not good at all. What's going on, Leroy Forbes? And as I said, the next one in line for the death squad is Bittrex. Bittrex exchange is in trouble. In-depth analysis reveals. Again, Bittrex is another one. If you're still using Bittrex and you're not doing like data, and I don't think Bittrex has margin trading, so there's really no reason to be on Bittrex. At the very least, Poloniex, and this is one of the things they had going for it when it first began. It was the margin trading on there. I remember back in early 2017, Poloniex had about 6 different options to margin trade up to, I believe, 10 to 15 times or something. So I can understand people still using that platform or going back to it or whatever, but Bittrex, I mean, there's no reason to be on there. No margin trading. They've already shown that they will change their terms of service overnight if it benefits them and doesn't work for you. They've frozen accounts. When I was just telling you the story about an exchange not allowing for withdrawals, I remember at one point I had my withdrawal for Bittrex set as high as maybe 20,000 plus or something. And then literally overnight, they said, well, now you can only take out $2,000. Well, if you're in a bear market, the market's crashing, and you go from being able to take out $20,000 to $50,000 a day to $2,000 a day, you're going to lose a lot of money. So again, Bittrex, we saw the death of them coming a long time ago. And again, I have no clue how they're even still in business. I've told you all before, their CEO or one of their top dudes, Bill, if I remember correctly, he's still working at Google. And a couple other developers still had other jobs at cybersecurity and other firms. So this wasn't even their priority as an exchange, which is why I stopped using it, because it wasn't a priority for me either. Looks like the crypto exchange ecosystem is becoming increasingly cutthroat, as this article says, as major players fight to win the largest share of the market. Bittrex is one exchange right now that appears to be losing the fight. And you can see the rundown here. And this is on the Bitcoinist. The rundown is they have a dwindling market share, Bittrex incentives abound, and an embattled exchange. The dwindling market share. By the end of 2017, Bittrex is one of the world's top exchanges with almost 40% of the total exchange inflow market share. That I would actually say is up for debate. They were popping really midway, well, I guess toward the end, yeah, because all the way up until October, November 2017. Yeah, all right, that's fair. End of 2017. They were one of the top exchanges. If you remember, and I'm sure this article mentions it, Binance came and kind of slapped them around a little bit. But by the end of 2017, Bittrex was one of the world's top exchanges with almost 40% of the total exchange inflow market. Can you imagine that, people? You have 40% of the exchange market share, and you decide to not do the right thing. And again, I won't even blame Bill and his little 2 or 3 people he had working with him because they were all developers. They were all coders. They were all people who work on the technical side of things, not run businesses, and they never wanted to release the reins of that company, which is why he's doing what he's doing now and is suffering. You had 40% of the exchange market share at a time when Bitcoin was at its all-time high, and instead of doing the right thing, again, I have to keep repeating this, instead of doing the right thing like Coinbase did and say, hey, we have no clue what we're doing here. We don't know how to scale this thing. We don't know the business side. We don't know X, Y, Z. We're going to hire these TD Ameritraders. We're going to hire these Facebooks. We're going to hire these Wall Street people to come in and do what they do best, business. Bittrex decided against that when they had 40% of the market share. And not only did they decide against it, they started going toward predatory ways of doing business. Again, I've had the experience with Bittrex where they literally changed their terms of service overnight once you caught them in something. They will change their terms of service overnight. Again, I mentioned their the law firm. I'm not sure they still have the same legal team, but the legal team that they had, which I can't think of the name off the top of my head, this is the same legal team that was backing or was working with Hillary Clinton during her run for president. This is the same legal team that helps out the likes of Facebook, Google. So again, this is a high-powered legal team, and Bittrex used it to their advantage. They didn't care about customers. They didn't care about their 40% market share. All they cared about was the bottom line, getting more money, more money, more money. So they did things like change terms of service. They did things like using their law team in a predatory fashion. They did things like, not having the back end technical side of things, but right. For some people who may have just entered this space, Bittrex was at a point where if you were to email them, hey, somebody's trying to hack my account or whatever, they had no mechanisms to stop it. Literally, they had no mechanism. So if it were to happen on a Friday night and they decided to not work or come back into the office until Monday, that entire weekend left your account at risk. And Bittrex was like, hey, that's part of the game, right? So it looks like since then, things have turned south during the 2018 bear market, and the platform never really recovered for it. It looks like since 2017, Bittrex has been one of the exchanges that has struggled the most to maintain its market share during the bear market. Its Bitcoin inflow share fell from a high 88% at one point to now being down 2%. Again, this makes my teeth white, people. I can't tell you enough how much I dislike Bittrex and his team. And to be fair, when they were at their all-time high in 2017, I would give it to them. It was an amazing exchange, people. Everything was working out great. The exchange worked. And then, of course, like I said, they just left it alone. They built something great, and then they left it alone. They didn't want to maintain it, and it failed, and it fails because of that. Again, another one of the reasons, as I mentioned, Binance Exchange, led by Champagne Zhao, started to gather momentum in 2018, and it has since grown to consume almost 50% of the entire market share. That has had devastating effects on the likes of Bittrex, Poloniex, and Bitfinex, which have lost out big time to the yellow beast, as they call it. Again, look at the exchanges that lost out. Bittrex, they should be losing. It's a bad exchange ran by bad people who are literally just trying to rob people in the community. Poloniex, while I do feel bad for them, because again, they started off very strong as well. They couldn't keep it. They couldn't keep it up for whatever reason, so they failed as well. And Bitfinex, we know what's been going on with Bitfinex and Tether for the longest. So again, the three names that are on here, which Binance has devastated, should be on here. They should go out of business. They did bad business. I mean, and speaking about Poloniex in general, again, when they had their run, they were making so much money. People, let me tell you, Poloniex, when they were up and running in 2016 and all the way into about June, July of 2017 when they were really pumping, they were making hand over foot money. And at the time they were making money, the regulators were not paying that much attention to the space. So as much as I love Poloniex, it's kind of their fault as well for not doing the right things to make sure you have support just in case Bitcoin scale. And again, I'm not blaming them because as I mentioned, I think yesterday, the day before, in 2017, the majority of the space thought the price would reach to maybe $5,000. It started off at $1,000. Everyone thought it might go to $5,000. And people were saying, for the people who were saying $5,000, those people were being looked at crazy. I remember Cliff I said $5,000, and people was like, this guy is way off. We'll be lucky to see half of that, $2,500 by the end of the year. So to be fair with these companies, especially Poloniex, they didn't expect for Bitcoin to go from 1,000 to 20,000 in 1 year and then them having to hire a bunch of people, right? So that's not their fault. But on the flip side, you had the money and resources to where you saw this thing starting to pump, to get the analysts in here, to get the people. Hell, you could have got myself or Bitcoin Zay, we would have told you what was coming next, right? So you did have the resources, you didn't do it. And that's why they're losing out. So it's not like you can feel bad, because if you look at the Coinbases, if you look at Gemini, if you look at Binance, what do you see them doing every week, almost every month? They have some new product coming out, or they're shutting down some new product. They're not wasting time. They understand this dynamic market, and they're saying, hey, we know we're making a lot of money right now, but in Binance's case, hey, we're going to use some of that money and we're going to put it back out to educate and train people in cryptocurrency. I wonder why they want to do that. Maybe because if a bull market happens again, they have a whole pool of people to hire that they sponsor, right? So these new exchanges are beginning to do that. Maybe, when it comes to Bittrex, Poloniex, they're certainly not like first generation exchanges because, they didn't come out till 7-8 years after Bitcoin been around. But we could call them like maybe, second gen exchanges where they didn't know enough or didn't have that foresight to say, hey, we need to build more around this exchange than just having 3 developers working at the exchange. So something to definitely pay attention to. And of course, since I'm going at a different time today, I forgot to turn on this do not disturb, but boom, it is done. And again, last couple of things about Bittrex. They have a few incentives they've been trying to do, such as reduction in trading fees, customer reward programs, and further discounts. However, these have had very little effect on boosting trade volumes, which continues to slide. Yes, they have little effect because you have already shown who you are. You're not to be trusted. So again, think about it this way. When Binance came out, they already had a reduction in trading fees. In fact, they made their BNB token. They made their Binance token. So they say, if you trade with our token, you can actually make money. And I'm not going to lie. I missed out on that token because at the time, I already had a full slew of coins I was researching, I was looking at and in business with and all types of stuff. But I know a couple of people who were already millionaires at the time and made more money who invested in the Binance coin. And their thought was, hey, this is a new coin. This exchange has all the indicators. It'll be successful. And while Bitcoin is pumping, the fundamentals of its price point didn't match for some of these people. So they took a lot of their Bitcoin and put it into Binance coin just to hold it there instead of pushing it over to Tether or bringing it back out to fiat. And I'm telling you, a lot of those people made a lot of money on that. So, and then the customer reward programs. Uphold has been doing customer reward programs since they started. So again, Bittrex is now doing all these incentives to try to bring their trading volume back, but no one trusts you. You already lost the trust. Again, this wasn't an isolated incident for us. I remember after I went through my thing with Bittrex, I went to like Reddit and some of the Bitcoin forums, and there were a lot of complaints about Bittrex from a lot of people, a lot of same things like, hey, these guys, I literally caught them in a lie or whatever, or they cheated me. I have right to a lawsuit, I have right to legal action, whatever these people decided to do. And Bittrex will come back out the next day with updated terms and services. And again, I know this because I screenshotted some of their terms and services before as they changed it. So now they're trying to do all this extra stuff to bring people back. And again, I can't say this enough. Watching them die a slow death makes my teeth white. And if they were in human form, I would tell everybody to walk by them and stomp on them or something. Okay, so this is great to see. Again, it's a dying exchange. Look, they have this little tweet here. Thanks to everyone who participated in our Bittrex credits beta test. Now they're doing beta tests. It's over. You guys had a great run. If I were Bittrex at this point, I would look to sell the bag. Get the bag off. There's, you could still have a Poloniex story. I will say that only because of your history. Because of your history during 2016, 2017, you could argue to companies who aren't well versed in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space that the only reason your trading volume slipped was because of the bear market, and you could still sell this thing for, I would say at a minimum $50 million. Bittrex is still at a minimum a $50 million exchange. So my thoughts to them is to either sell it ASAP or to take a big step back from actually trying to operate it and hire people who know how to operate business. Or the third option, which is what I really hope happens, is that you guys all, your exchange dies a very slow death and it runs your pockets dry on the way down. So there you go. What's going on, Baldur's Granville? Greetings. Cryptonomics, what's up? Said, damn, all the old school exchanges. It's right. They wanted to stick to their old school ways, just like the dinosaur. Where's my roar? Bittrex is the dino of the day. Let's give them that loud roar. Cryptonomics said, Poloniex been dead, but Bittrex is like the old hoopty car you would drive but never want to get rid of. You're on fire today, Cryptonomics. I agree. Bittrex is definitely, I give you that. It's like the car that, you leave it in your garage. You got a little bit of gas left. It's only for emergencies. I mean, your whole neighborhood's on fire. Things are going wrong. For whatever reason, your car and your real car that you love using, that's messed up. Your secondary car is messed up. Everything's messed up for whatever reason. And all you got is this old clunker in the back that can get you 100 yards up the street. I mean, I guess that's why you use Bittrex. But what happens when you mature? What happens when you get that newer car and that newer house and stuff? Eventually, you got to get rid of the junk. And I think that's what the market's doing now. We're getting rid of the junk. There's no reason for a Bittrex to be active. There's definitely no reason for you to be trading on it. Again, if you're trading on Bittrex or Poloniex and something shady happens, like all of a sudden 12 minutes of trading history just automatically gets deleted, then yes, these are your faults, and you're going to learn that lesson with money. I'm telling you that for a fact. Clarence and Dennison, what's going on? A. Kent said, this reminds me so much of those exchanges that deal primarily with binary options. Exactly. Yeah, that is exactly the same way. Dexter Hand Sr., what's going on? A. Kent said, Exodus and Coinami are just a few of what I'm referring to. Okay. Let's see. We need to talk about the link between the virus. Clarence Dennison said we need to talk about the link between the virus. I'm assuming you're talking about the coronavirus and crypto. It's getting crazy. Nobody sell to the dump, aka rich celebs get in. That's right. Next time you see Ripple offering another rich celebrity a lot of money on a TV show, I think it's about time to put your sell orders around then. You said you meant dumb money. Oh, it's till the dumb money comes in for sure. What's going on, Malik Howard, Wired Sparks? Hello, hello, hello. All right, in other news, I didn't see this coming as far as this partnership or merger. However, I knew one was going to come and many more will follow. JP Morgan considers merging blockchain unit with currencies. People, you better believe this is going to happen often. I'll say this. Well, let me introduce the story first. JP Morgan Chase, the United States' largest bank, actually probably one of the world's largest bank, is reportedly considering merging its in-house blockchain unit Quorum with major Ethereum-focused firm currencies. According to a Reuters report on February 11th, unnamed persons familiar with the matter claimed that the merger is likely to be officially announced within the next 6 months. The financial terms of the deal reportedly remain to be worked out. Again, you can read more about this. This is on Cointelegraph. But here's the bottom line of this. Like Goldman Sachs, through Circle as a proxy through Circle, buying Poloniex, you better believe every major bank, organization, institution, anyone who can get their hands on a crypto company or get inside some type of crypto company, they're going to do it. Now, while this may be the first or one of the largest mergers in the space, I'm telling you now, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, I'm going to keep saying those names, they have been knocking on people's doors to get in. And what's even crazy about it is I know people who work at both of these places, and back in 2016 and 2017, I talked to these people about crypto, and they looked at me like a madman. I'm telling you, I mean, it was just, the conversations were so condescending. And I told them back then, I'm like, I guarantee you, even though you don't believe it, your boss is going to give you that order one day and you're going to go toward crypto. And we're seeing it now. Here's the bottom line. The reason why this is happening is because the same with Bittrex, who basically have no more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost like value. I won't say value, but they don't have, they don't have anything to stand on in this space, if you get what I'm saying. They don't have a good reputation right now. So it's the same with JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. When it comes to reputation in the blockchain and the cryptocurrency space, they have very little to none, especially JP Morgan. I mean, their CEO, Jamie, the Dinosaur Diamond, called Bitcoin a fraud in the summer of 2017. After it already pumped, he called it a fraud. So no one trusts them. They don't have much room to stand on in this space. So if I were a person, an institution, or organ, because it won't just be these two again. I mean, hell, expect the Catholic Church to all of a sudden buy a Bitcoin exchange if they can. I'm serious about that, or a mining farm. Everyone's gonna get into it. So what would I do if I didn't have a lot of trust in a new community or a new industry, but I had a pocket full of money, right? I'm gonna go seek out those organizations, those companies who need a pocket full of money, and they might need some business acumen on the back end or whatever else, or whatever resources they need outside the money we have. You need us to call a regulator, we can do it. You need a new lawyer or legal firm, we can do it. You need compliance officers, we have it. You need people who know how to structure and scale your business, we can do all that. Or like I said, very simply, you need more money to keep your business afloat, we can do that too. But what do we get back in return? Again, this is why this makes so much sense. Currencies, we've talked about them on multiple occasions. Great company, great place, in the crypto sector. They've been going through a lot of stuff ever since the bear market started too, because during the bull market of 2017, like every other business out there had to do, they had to start hiring more people than what they wanted. And oftentimes, some of those people they hired may have not been the most qualified, but they knew enough about crypto, right? So you hire all these people. Of course, we go through this bear market in 2018. You try to hold on to them. 2019 rolls around. You had to cut some of your staff, which they did. 2020 comes around. We just talked about this the other day. We got to cut another 14% of the staff. So I think altogether, maybe about 30% of their staff they had to cut. And then all of a sudden, like I said, you got these people who's been laying and waiting, like JP Morgan, the Goldman Sachs, all these big companies who've been wanting to get into crypto and blockchain space, even though publicly they say they don't. They want to get in. They're trying to figure out a way, and this is their way in. Currencies, great reputation, great team, great people. They just split their thing up, and this is even bigger thing to talking about it. If you remember, Currencies just split their company up into two, basically, where one team is going to be handling the business side of things, and the other team is going to be handling the development side of things. And then literally 48 to 72 hours later, you get, JP Morgan might be merging. I mean, look, we talked about this the other day, and I won't call it a full call, but it was almost a call, because I did say that was the smartest plan for them moving forward, was to let the developers develop and to have a team based around the business. Well, with this merger, that looks like what's going to happen. JP Morgan is probably going to, if this merge happens, and I think Currencies more or less does not want it to happen, but they don't have a lot of choice right now. I mean, they are in a space where they need a lot of capital, and they're in a space where they need some people with some real business acumen to come and lead them forward. So I think that whether they want to do it or not, I don't think they want to, but I think it's going to happen. And when it does happen, I think they actually set themselves up for success already, whether they did it or JP Morgan already had some people go in and do it for them. By them splitting that company up and saying, hey, we're going to have this team over here that just handles the business. We're going to have this team that just handles development. Bittrex, I'm talking to you. You might want to do the same thing. One side for business, one side for developers. It allows JP Morgan to come in with their team and to get right to work, because that team that they separate into the business side of the house, they don't need to know that much about cryptocurrency or blockchain technology. Because if you remember, we're still using things like the Howey test from the 20s or the 1800s or something. I don't know, some slave help invented, right? We're using these old regulations, these old laws, and these old tests that have nothing to do with cryptocurrency by way of extortion. So when you bring these people by like JP Morgan in, they already know the old way of doing things. They know about the Howey test. They know about securities. They know about this and the other. And these are the same stringent regulations that are being forced upon the crypto space. So right now, if you can get the likes of these JP Morgan guys over, it's a big win for Currencies. It's an even bigger win for JP Morgan because now they get to come in and take an inside peek. The only thing and the last thing I will caution Currencies about, which I'm sure they're well aware of, is that just like JP Morgan kind of poked their head around Bitcoin in 2017 and then said, okay, now we got our core blockchain. We're going to have a JP Morgan coin. You better believe all your little trade secrets you have in their Currencies, they're going to come in and they're about to jack it. So either you're going to work with them, you're going to merge, we're going to be partners, whatever, or they're going to come in and they're just going to say, oh, that's what you're doing. Okay, well, we can do that. Take it from Mr. Wonderful off of Shark Tank. I love the guy on Shark Tank. He always says the same thing to entrepreneurs whenever they come up with a new idea. He's like, hey, I'm not trying to be mean or be an asshole here, but what are you doing that's so different that I can't just go hire a bunch of people to do it the same and keep 100% of it rather than partnering with you? So JP Morgan is that type of company. This isn't some conspiracy or some maybe or no. They're the type of company that swallow you. They eat you whole. And that's what's up. I mean, they're a great business. That's why they continue to do big things and get even bigger. I mean, that's how you get $1 billion of cocaine to disappear from the news in a 24-hour cycle, right? It's because you've been doing something right on the business side of things. So that's the only thing I would caution Currencies about. It's one of those things, again, I know they have to kind of merge to stay alive, but I'm telling you, once you do it, don't be surprised when a year, 2 years, 3 years later, JP Morgan starts either firing some of your top brass or just, again, getting rid of all of you all and saying, hey, we can just do this thing in-house. So something to definitely pay attention to. All right. This was a interesting story and quite unfortunate. Childhood friends battle over ownership of North America's largest Bitcoin mine. Wow. Now, I'm not just talking about this story to be petty. I'm talking about it because of the repercussions behind it. And long story short, it's about 2 or 3 friends who all put in, I think, $25,000. Everybody put in $25,000 of capital to start a Bitcoin mine back in 2016, right? And this mine was started, it looks like it's called CoinMint's Bitcoin mine in Massena, New York. Again, about 3 people put in $25,000 a piece, started Bitcoin mine before Bitcoin was popping. Then, of course, it got popping, right, in 2017. Now, the issue here is actually one of those things that, again, I talked about with Poloniex, Bittrex, and everybody else in 2017. They faced the same thing. Hey, we start a Bitcoin mine, cool idea in 2016, make a little money. 2017 comes, we make a lot of money, and mining is real big now and it's getting serious, and now it's causing us to be looked at by government authorities and regulators in different countries. Oh, and then 2018, 2019 comes, there's this crazy bear market. Oh, then 2020 comes, people are back interested in crypto. And during this whole time, while they're getting investments from other people, they've received investments from other companies who are interested. One company offered to buy them out. I don't want to say the wrong number. I'm looking for it. I believe it was about, $50 million or something, $30 to $50 million or something. I can't find it right now. I'm going to keep scrolling. But they already had a company to offer to buy them out. One of the partners said no. Another partner said yes. And another one was kind of in the middle, right? Let's see. Yes, in mid-2018, CoinMint said it will invest as much as $700 million in the Massena facility, creating an estimated 150 jobs over the ensuing 18 months. The plant has the potential for upgrades up to 435 megawatts of crypto mining facility. So actually that number was way off. Now they did say that plan did not go as planned. Here it is. Sonia, another person, loaned CoinMint more than $20 million, an obligation that until recently remained on the company books. So they paid that off. And then here was last year, a private equity firm offered to buy a stake in CoinMint at a valuation of $80 million. A few months later, a reduced offer valued the company closer to $60 million. So what happened here is, as I said, they started an exchange early. A few people put in their $25 a piece. The exchange blew up, got a lot of interest. People, they had to receive funding and loans, paid all those back. Somebody says, hey, I got $80 million. One of the partners decides to stall on it, does not want to sell. That valuation drops to 60 million, especially as the bear market commences and continues to go on. So finally, one partner was like, hey, I had enough. I did get into this because I like crypto, but I also got into it to make money. And he was ready to sell. The other person was not ready to sell. I'm assuming they were going down the Mark Zuckerberg approach, was like, no, we built something great. I want to keep my hands on the reins and continue to build. And this is something that every company out here that has co-founders is going to have to look at. Again, this is the third time we talked about this in maybe a couple of weeks. We talked about Tesla's doing it, and I can't remember the other company we just said is having the same issue. But this is something to watch out for, because now one of the partners has sought legal representation, and he's trying to dissolve the entire firm and just take their money or what it's worth and go their separate ways, because those partners are no longer on speaking terms. But again, the biggest thing out of this is, since they're not on speaking terms, what will happen? Will it be bought? And regardless, again, the big news is what's going to happen to the entire mine. At the end of the day, this is a Bitcoin mine, people. It's already operational, it's up and running, and it's already ready to scale. They already had the plans in the scale. They know how much it's going to cost. Again, we just talked about them scaling to 435 gigawatts of power, and that is going up from 80 where they're at right now. So they're already to scale. This is a business that's ready to take off. Again, I'm assuming that 80 to 60 million went down because of the ensuing bear market. But if Bitcoin halves and the price continues to go up and we do hit a bull run, this mining facility could easily be worth $100 million. Easily be worth $100 million. Could you imagine, instead of Circle buying Poloniex for $300 million, they put up that $80 million to buy an entire mine? People, this is worth a lot. So, and that's why this story is important, because depending on what happens, if they're going to dissolve it, this business goes, whatever, we sell the parts, or somebody else comes in and buy up this entire thing. What happens if Jahan Wu comes and buy up the whole thing? All of a sudden, we might not be mining Bitcoin so much anymore. We might be mining Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV, right? This is why, who controls this, or the path it's going to take, is so important. So we'll continue to monitor the story. It is crazy to see this. Again, these were childhood friends. And they're falling out over money. A story as old as time itself. We've heard this many times, but the repercussions of what happens to that Bitcoin mine, again, this is one of the largest in North America. The repercussions of what's going to happen to it might affect our market or someone else's market. Again, if someone gets it and say, we're going to mine Bitcoin SV moving forward, expect that price to pump right there, right? White Lake said, geez, partnerships can suck. Erlene Miller, hello to you. Clarence Dennison was talking about that merger. He said, I'm sorry, I don't believe that story. It sounds fishy. All right, last but not least, central bank digital currencies are good for Bitcoin, Barry Silbert says. I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw this headline, I was like, Barry Silbert's at it again. For those who don't know, Barry Silbert used to be called Barry Silbert oftentimes in the community. Barry Silbert is the founder and CEO of digital currency asset manager Grayscale Investments and blockchain venture capital firm Digital Currency Group, has again expressed his bullish stance on Bitcoin in the latest Grayscale investor call on February 12th. And I will say, of course, Grayscale has been doing amazing since they started. Digital Currency Group is doing great when it comes to self-regulation and all that. But during the call titled The State of Digital Currencies, Silbert spoke to a number of important digital asset-related issues, including Bitcoin's role in generational shift in wealth, stablecoins, decentralized finance, and central bank digital currencies. Now, to make this long story short, you can read this on Cointelegraph. Barry Silbert came out, and as it says in the headline, he came out and said central bank digital currencies are good for Bitcoin. And his reasoning is one we've talked about on this show many times. And in the simplest fashion, he basically said, because it's a base hit. He said, if we have 80 different central bank digital currencies and people everywhere have to use CBDCs and organizations are using CBDCs, he was like, no matter what, now they're in the ecosystem, that money will start to flow over to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies alike. And I have to agree with Barry Silbert. And that's the double-edged sword. And I think Christine Lagarde, the IMF, whoever the chairman of the IMF, 2 years ago, she said that. She came out and said CBDCs may be the future, but they're not interested in them at the time. And the reason why they weren't interested at the time, as other people reported, was because by adopting CBDCs, you would basically be saying crypto is the future. And yeah, you need to start looking at it. And I'm telling you, people, once that happens, again, Barry Silver's right. Once we get CBDCs and you have to get this digital dollar, you have to get this digital ruble, whatever, you have now literally opened up the floodgates for everyone to come into crypto. And by that extension, people will begin to do their research. They will begin to learn to save money. And they're going to say, well, if we're using crypto anyway and it's all the same, why would I use this American dollar? Well, I can just use Bitcoin, or if I want some privacy, Monero, Zcash, right? So I think it's good that, again, this double-edged sword is now here. I guess, we talked about CBDCs when we first saw them in the article, and we said this would be the new thing. And that was, I think, in 2017. It's officially here. It's officially a new thing. You have to remember Barry Silbert with his Grayscale Investments. This is institutions and accredited investors. He's on Wall Street. He's talking to the regulators. He's talking to the government. He knows what direction we're going in. So for him to talk about CBDCs at this state of digital currencies, I think it means he knows something we don't know, which of course we're actually going to be moving forward with it. And he's kind of preparing his own investors to say, hey, once this CBDC thing happens, don't freak out, don't panic. It's actually a great thing for your portfolio. And I agree, again, to get this quote for him at the end. So at one point in the future, we might have 80 different CBDCs. And if that happens, it would trigger a tremendous amount of investment in operators of financial systems, where essentially every financial institution would then have to be able to safely store and transact CBDCs. And guess what? If they actually build that infrastructure, that same infrastructure could be used for non-central bank digital currencies like Bitcoin. Again, I agree with this fully. And at one time, I even shunned CBDCs. I'm on board with it, not because I think they're a good idea, but because I think that would drive more people to mass adoption when it comes to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So we'll see what happens on that. Again, it remains to be seen, as we know that those black swan events can happen, and most of those events come from the government and what they decide to do with it. So we'll see what happens. Clarence Dennison said, I have 7 Litecoin miners turning on at $150. Nice. Ryan Cooper, what's going on? D-Bill Crypto Solutions, check them out. Crypto and Culture, what's going on? Erlene Miller said, some businesses are trying not to accept fiat. Local governments are shutting down that process down quickly. Would have been an awesome segue for Bitcoin. It really would have. To actually tell people, hey, we don't even take cash anymore. And in reality, people, you don't want to take cash. Think about if you have a small store, if you're a mom and pop in a bad neighborhood, which there is a big percentage of those in the United States. I can speak to that for sure. That get robbed, right? You go to some of these bad neighborhoods and they got the plexiglass or whatever, the bulletproof glass, about 2 inches thick, for gas stations, for liquor stores, for corner stores. At some places, smaller markets or grocery stores, they have that glass because people rob them, right? Well, what if those same stores said, we don't even take cash here no more? If you're going to rob us, you need to come in here with a laptop in 30 minutes of time to get ready to hack. We're not even taking cash. So I think that's a good thing moving forward. Hey, people, to keep it real with you, the only place cash really is being used more often than not in the U.S. is the strip club, all right? Or for nefarious means there. At the end of the day, a lot of people are swiping, right? They're using their cards, and now I'm even seeing Apple Pay and Google Pay everywhere. So the cash thing is not being used as much as it used to. And again, it would be very interesting to go to a store, a grocery store, and see, we don't, could you imagine that? We don't accept cash here, at all. That would be a crazy thing to see. So we'll see what happens with that. And last but not least, what's going on? Tessa and Joe Mama said banks will become the exchanges. Oh, of course, banks will become the exchanges. And again, looking at JP Morgan, that is why they're learning all this right now. They're running all these groups and stuff because, yes, they want to become the exchange. They want to become the coin that you use, the blockchain that you use. They want to become it all. So I think banks will become the exchanges. Again, they already have the infrastructure. And especially, here's the biggest key point, which these exchanges aren't getting. The likes of Coinbase, I get it. They probably feel like they're too big to fail, but Coinbase, Gemini, Binance, Bittrex, all these other exchanges, you all wanted those regulators in here, right? You wanted them. They came and they brought their old rules and did not adapt. Those old rules help banks already in place because banks can now say, we'll do the CBDC thing, we'll do the blockchain and crypto thing, but we're already set for success because we already go off the old way of doing business. The crypto exchanges, the Coinbases, The Bitrexes, the Binances, they're going off of the new way of doing business. And until they get an army or something or a police force, it's not going to work. We've already saw that. We saw that for 2 years straight with the bear market. That bear market, make no doubt about it, that was triggered by government and billionaires around the world. That was not just because of the market. Even though it should not have went up as high as it did, there was no reason for it to drop back down as low as it did either. So just know that was manufactured as well. Other than that, that is the show for today. As always, thanks for watching. And we will check you all out tomorrow with some more crypto news. Make sure you smash that like and share button, people. And we will see you soon. Cheers.